we're going to talk about 5 reasons why Harley-Davidson owners are so brand loyal to the bar and shield. What is it about Harley-Davidson motorcycles that just create a rabid following? What is it about these bikes that foster such unwavering loyalty? And we'll also talk about whether or not these 5 reasons are enough to take Harley-Davidson into the future. If you ride a motorcycle, you probably have come across a few people that just have a die-hard allegiance to Harley-Davidson. And at some point, it just seems illogical. Even in the face of recent turbulent economy, Harley-Davidson has seemingly doubled down on their premium pricing strategy. And considering that premium pricing strategy, you just don't get a whole lot of bang for your buck with their motorcycles. You can still find a lot of Harley fans that are still standing by the brand. But what could possibly be the reasons? Harley-Davidson is still one of the biggest motorcycle brands in the United States, with a cult-like following that boasts about freedom and the open road. Let's dive into the 5 reasons why Harley-Davidson owners are just so brand loyal. Cruisers have become synonymous with Harley-Davidson. Harley's design is timeless. The classic look of their motorcycles have really stood the test of time. And I'd argue that it's even gotten better over time. Anytime that you're talking about cruisers, American cruisers, Harley-Davidson is just the most copied brand out there. And for people who value originality in terms of design, they're always going to be drawn to Harleys because Harley-Davidson has really just set the standard. Also, when you talk to Harley-Davidson owners, they'll let you know that the fit and finish on their Harleys are second to none compared to others in its class. I always hear this, especially when there's a conversation about Harley versus Indian. Harley's fit and finish is just better than Indian motorcycles. Harley fans will always talk about how the paint is just premium and it's best in class, and they'll say that they can't find that level of detail and attention to detail with other manufacturers.
The premium quality and the fit and finish of Harleys is just top notch. It's better than their competitors. Now, whether that's true or not, I think there's some validity to it. I've had a chance to test out a lot of different bikes. For the most part, I do agree. I think the fit and finish on Harleys is a little bit better. It has a more premium feel. I definitely like the designs and the lines better. I think it just flows a little bit nicer, especially when I'm comparing Harley to Indian. I will give them some props on that. There's definitely other brands that kind of give Harley a run for their money. And I think Indian is also kind of getting pretty close. Their latest, Challenger, I don't know what it's called, but their top of the line Challenger, the new one they just released for 2024, looks pretty sick. But, when I'm thinking about premium fit and finish and just the design aspect, now Triumph is also up there in terms of like that premium quality, premium fit and finish, but they're not quite competitors, I would say. That is something that I notice typically when Harley riders are talking about their bikes. The fit and finish on Harleys is just, it's really nice. But like I said, I tend to agree. I think the paint job, the colors that they use, it's really nicely well executed. I kind of make a joke that every year Harley just basically rolls out the same thing, but just with different paint. I'm not gonna lie, I still kind of get excited about the paint. And I think a lot of people do. They love the colors that Harleys choose. And I think part of it is that Harleys have been around for so long is that they've gone through several iterations. They know what works. And I think that's an advantage that only Harley-Davidson and maybe a few other manufacturers can really boast about.
So reason number 2, that Harley feeling. If you talk to enough Harley riders, at some point you'll eventually come across the saying, if you've never ridden one, you just won't understand. And what they're talking about is the experience that you get when riding a Harley. It's the combination of their air-cooled V-twin engines mixed with that classic potato sound with an exhaust so loud that everyone knows that you're riding a Harley. That's the quintessential Harley experience, right? That V-twin engine sound from a Harley is instantly recognizable and often imitated but just has never been duplicated. And it evokes a sense of power and it makes you feel like you're connected to the machine.
That Harley feeling. Now, a lot of this is due to the sound, the rumble of the engine. It all culminates to that Harley feeling, that quintessential Harley feeling that you can only get with a Harley. I've ridden a lot of different brands of motorcycles, and some come close. Once you've ridden a Harley, man, it's an experience. But Harley has definitely, cornered that market in terms of that feeling, the feeling of freedom, the feeling of, adventure. Not saying that Harley is the only one, but there is a specific experience with Harleys. And I think it all starts with that potato sound and the rumble of the air-cooled engine. Oh man, there's just something about it. I will say Indian does come pretty close, but Harley just has that iconic sound. You can spot a Harley from a mile away just because of the sound. I don't know what it is. It's hard to describe, and that's what you'll always hear from other Harley riders, right? Like if you've never ridden a Harley, you just won't understand. You just can't get that feeling from any other motorcycle manufacturer. Do I agree with it to some degree? Yeah, like I love every Harley that I've ever had, especially the Lowrider S, or I have a soft spot for Sportsters as well. But I will say, you know, the Indian Scout Bomber that I have, man, that's a fun bike too. But I have this like attachment to my Harleys that I just don't get with some of my other motorcycles. I don't know what it is.
When you look at the dealership network for Harley-Davidsons in the US, it kind of reminds me of McDonald's. There's no shortage of Harley-Davidson dealerships in the United States. In fact, as of today, there's over 700 Harley-Davidson dealerships in the United States. That's an astonishing number when you compare it with the 279 Indian motorcycle dealerships. And for many Harley riders, that's important. They want a dealership that's within distance that they can go to for warranty work, maintenance, repairs, and general support. Even though online shopping has its place, when you're talking about motorcycles and shopping for a motorcycle, it's an experience. You want to be able to see the motorcycle in person. You want to be able to see the paint job, the looks, the aesthetics, all the features. You might even want to go for a test ride on it. In order for that to happen, you need the dealership network. The motorcycle shopping experience is something that you want to be able to see in person and touch and experience. And Harley-Davidson has a vast network across the US that support that experience.
I know in my area alone, there's like 5 or 6 different Harley dealerships that I could go to. And for a lot of riders, that's important, right? Whether or not, if you want to get parts, if you want to get certain things, if you want to just check out what kind of different things that they have, different motorcycles, if you want to see the brand new motorcycles, it's very easy to do. Insert joke about, you know, if Harley's made a good motorcycle or a reliable motorcycle in the first place, you wouldn't need a dealership, but you never know what's going to happen on a ride. I actually had something go wrong with my Harley a few weeks ago. There was a Harley dealership about, I want to say like 5 to 10 miles away, and I called them up and they said, hey, just bring the bike over, we'll check it out, and we'll get you on your way. Like, that's amazing. And if you're thinking about, you know, what cruisers are made to do, which is travel long distances, it's nice to know that there's going to be a Harley-Davidson dealership somewhere in the area. If something does go wrong, you can call them up and they can help you out. With the Indian dealerships, I saw that there's only about like 200-ish, maybe 270. Just from my own experience, in my area, there's really not an Indian dealership that I can just kind of hit up very easily. The closest one to me is about like an hour drive away. So when you're talking about like wanting to go see the latest and greatest, their new 2024 lineup, or even wanting to do a demo ride, it's not easy. Whereas Harley-Davidson dealerships, I have like 3 that are within 20 to 30 minutes from me. So the dealership support is another reason why Harley riders are so loyal to the brand.
Another reason why Harley riders are so loyal to the brand is that they'll talk about the community and the culture. If you don't know what I'm talking about, stop by any one of their dealerships over the weekend and you'll see what I mean. The dealerships are often hosting some form of a party, bike nights, music, food. They host rides and a lot of ownership group meetings. If you ride a Harley and you want to get connected to a broader community and feel a sense of culture, the world is your oyster on a Harley-Davidson.
There's just so many of them out there, and there's so many riding groups, so many support groups, Harley ownership groups. A lot of riding clubs are based off of Harleys, MCs. And not only that, but if you ever stop by a Harley-Davidson dealership on a weekend, they always have something going on. They always have something to support their riders, whether it's an event with live music or food. They host bike nights. There's a lot of rides for charities, motorcycle shows, but also rallies. Like, they're just out there. And I'm not gonna talk to you guys about what defines culture and whatnot, but in terms of like that community, Harley definitely fosters and nurtures that community, and in turn it creates a culture.
Reason number 5, final reason on this list, is the aftermarket support for Harleys. If you look at Harleys, they all may look similar, but I guarantee you that no 2 Harleys are alike in terms of modifications. The list of modifications and vendors for Harleys is just endless. And because of how popular Harleys are, it almost supports a separate economy in terms of vendors and suppliers who manufacture parts so that you can customize your Harleys to your heart's content. It's not unheard of in the Harley community for somebody to spend almost the same amount on modifications as they would for that exact motorcycle. It's almost like owning an iPhone, right? Because of how popular iPhones are, there's just endless amount of support, you know, in terms of like apps and cases and little things for your phones. That's kind of like what it is with Harleys.
The last reason, I think there's a lot of validity to it, but just that aftermarket culture, man. Harley-Davidson, because they've been around for so long, because they're so popular and everyone has them, the aftermarket support, it's like a whole nother economy. You know, my first Harley was a Sportster, and the parts that you can get for a Sportster, it's just mind-blowing. You can get just about anything. It's crazy, but you can build like a brand new Harley from the ground up if you get the frame. It's that crazy how much availability there is in the aftermarket support for Harleys. And in the motorcycle culture, I think it's very similar to car culture, where customization, upgrades, those are things that people want to do to their bikes or their cars. You know, that's half the fun of having a Harley, is tinkering on the bike yourself, making upgrades, making the ride better, making it more customized to you and how you ride, things like that. If you have the money for it, you can do anything you want to your Harley. It's just that crazy. You know, that's a strong reason why people stick with Harleys, because that aftermarket support is there, not only in terms of the upgrades, but if you need a part to replace, readily available either through the manufacturer, either through Harley or a third party. So part of this video, I think, you know, warrants a conversation around like, is this enough for Harley-Davidson to take them into the future? Meaning, are Harley riders still going to be loyal to the brand? Are these competitive advantages enough? I'm kind of 50-50 on it, you know? I think there's a lot of things that is going against Harley in terms of like the economy, pricing, all those things. If we're also considering like a new generation of riders who are looking for different things like technology, performance, things of that nature, I don't know. I've also thought about like what would make me shy away from Harleys in the future. Like, is the sound and that Harley feeling, the culture, premium fit and finish and all that stuff, like, is that enough to keep me loyal to Harleys? I will say though that ever since I started testing out Indians and other motorcycles, I feel like I'm getting nudged a little bit more in terms of moving away from Harleys in the future. Like, I'm open to that possibility. I've always wanted a road glide, but now I'm looking at the Challengers. I think the Challenger is a better bike than a road glide. I think the competition is very, very quickly catching up to Harley-Davidson, if not already surpassed in some capacity. That's just my hot take. For now, it's undeniable that Harley-Davidson does have a stronghold on a lot of their consumers, especially the older demographic, right? For those that have gone through sort of like the quote-unquote glory years with Harley, I think a lot of them are still going to stick to the brand. But I will say, you know, just whenever I look at videos about Harley-Davidsons on YouTube or Indian motorcycles on YouTube, I see a lot of people switching, man. I see a lot of people switching. The Goldwings, Indian Challengers, or Indian Chieftains. There's definitely a lot of options now for people to pick from, which overall I think is a good thing. Don't get me wrong, you don't have to stick with the Harley, but I do think Harley's competitive advantages are slowly slipping. Yeah, so to me, Harleys are kind of like iPhones. Almost everybody has one, and because almost everybody has one, you know, there's a certain culture to it. There's a lot of support, right? A lot of parts that you can get for the iPhone. Certainly a lot of apps that you can download for the iPhone. It just makes it easier. And if all your friends have iPhones, like, you can do the AirDrop, and you know, there's all these things that you can do within just the iPhone community or the Apple community. It's kind of like that with Harleys, I think. I don't know. It's just a silly analogy that I thought about. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me today, guys. Thanks for tuning into this video. And until next time, I'll see you all later. Peace.